Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Secure Necessary Governance when Implementing New IT Systems. I'm Michelle from Marketing, and it will be my job to be your host and also moderate any questions that may come from you during this webinar. Today, I have Erik Bartholdi with me. Hello, Erik.
Hi, I'm here. Yes.
And Erik is a digital business advisor in Business Now, and also he might be the most agile man you'll see today. Just some quick practical stuff. This webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be shared with you tomorrow via an email. And also we will upload the recording to our YouTube channel and share that YouTube link via our LinkedIn page later this week. You can ask questions during this webinar using the Q&A button that will pop up in the bottom of your screen if you just put your mouse down below. And we will finish around 11:30 a.m., just in time for lunch. And at the end, we'll just do some quick questions that we may have in the end, and a quick poll where you can give us some feedback on how we're doing. So without further ado, I will give the word to you. Enjoy this webinar.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Yes, as you heard, my name is Erik. Probably I know some of you guys attending. Consultant for many years, as you can see on the beard and everything. So I'm not going to say anything more about that. I have a small introduction also here. So let's go into the actual presentation. Yep. Yes. Yeah, I've been manager in this area for 15 plus years, and then consultant and advisor and so instructor also for 15 years so, and some passion, some thing. And we have Michelle, or not wasting any more time with that. You can just check it on LinkedIn if you're curious. So today we're going to talk about why is it a challenge for most companies having trouble with this. Why is it not only something for the IT organization to care about, and what could we do about it? So, yeah, I guess you have, some of you or most of you would have experienced this if you have tried introducing systems or IT applications or business applications or business service or whatever you call them in your domain. So the thing is that most of the time you experience that you get information too late, you don't get enough information, and also you would experience lack of involvement. As my time as a CIO, I was CIO at the University Hospital in Odense. It was almost always like that we got involved too late, we got involved too little, and we didn't have information enough. And also it was also like that it would always be maybe some technical from a vendor or something would knock on your door and say, oh, we have to install this and it should be yesterday, and you haven't heard of it before. So suddenly everyone is very busy doing that. Also, it's not very funny to be perceived as unwilling to cooperate, and be opposed to developing the business, because most people don't like that. They would actually, the IT organization would actually like to help the business, not to be opposed to the business. So, and also it's a wide range of information from lots of different stakeholders which have to be collected and recorded, and it's not always understood by the business managers. Why do we have to involve the IT people? So if we look at it from that perspective, from the people, like if some of you are familiar with ITIL, there's people, process, partners, and so if you look at this from this point of view, from people view, it's you could have product managers, you could have business owners, services, architects, infrastructure people, and maybe some other roles also. But a product manager would look at it from maybe a DevOps perspective, something with portfolio, what business applications do we have, and what are my responsibilities are these or this. They would look at enhancements and SLAs and maybe something about the bugs and stuff in in the application and software. Business owner would have interest in something like cost and contract management, portfolio management, of course, security that has been recently been much more in focus and much more important, since we have had some very bad examples in industry where hackers have, maybe some of you heard of the case with the Maersk Line in Denmark. They were down, was it 1 month or something? They couldn't get access to most of their data. So really big problems with security. And of course, the service desk they would really like to know, do we have any SLAs on this? Or how can we reach someone at second line support? Is there anything, do we have any knowledge of this we have to put in operation now? And maybe they would like to have answers some question like how we're going to do identity management on this, how do we get people on board in this application, stuff like that. Then we would have architects. They have interest in business capabilities, business process, business application, services, and all the relations between that, also over in the GDPR and governance risk compliance area. And then we have the infrastructure people, who is a vendor, manufacturer, servers, network, relations, when they have to do problem management and stuff like that. So lots of information and a lot of stakeholders we have in place here. And also the business or the service owner is a very large stakeholder in this, of course. So it's not only a challenge for the IT department. If you look at it from another point of view, we have security, we have tools, of course, we have ownership. And in the security domain, security is like we have the GRC compliance, we have GDPR, we have common CIA point of view. And we look at the tools, then most of the time there could be confusions and you could lose track, and that maybe there's no support of process in the tools. And it could be your service management tool, but it also could be other tools like the tools used for distribution of services. It could be if you are having Jira or Azure DevOps or stuff, how is that connected to my service management tool, these relationships. Then you have ownership. Who owns this? Who's going to have control on data steward, maybe that function? Who owns the application, the business application in itself, and so on, the relations to other systems with data. And so you have to be in control of the ownership, both of the data, the process, and the tool. If then look at from this point of view, you could say that, yeah, we have lots of frameworks, and some of you guys probably know this. We have lots of frameworks covering this domain. It could be ITIL, COBIT, IT4IT, DevOps. Actually, what I'm going to show you a little bit later, we have used bits and parts of this. We have used a lot of parts from ITIL, the new ITIL version, collaboration, visualization and stuff, the guiding principles, but also inspiration from COBIT, IT4IT, and DevOps. And we are heavily into the governance risk compliance area, and we are heavily into the application portfolio management domain. And some of the tools actually already support that area, but maybe not with the twist you would like. So yeah, that's all the theory stuff. So let's try and get practical, how we actually could work with this. So what can we do about it? And some examples on how we have helped customers developing value streams and tools for this challenge. So let's get practical. This is an example from one of our customers. And I can tell you, it's not a secret. It's the region of southern Denmark, Region Syddanmark. They're okay with us mentioning that. So, and this is me in the middle, and the other guys are faded away. So, but this is me in the middle, and this is where we work in practice on the why and how part. So we are using sprint methodology, and show you that later also how we're doing that. But here we are going into looking at the value stream. We are analyzing the triggers for this value stream. We're looking at information flow in the value stream. We're looking for roles in the value stream, and we're actually kind of developing an application on the wall, so to speak. And it's of course, it's much easier to change an application while it's still on Post-its, and you can have very good discussions on this. We do simulations on this before we develop anything. So we use a lot of time on looking at this in this way. So, and have good discussions. And also, I'll get back to that also, but it's very important which people are there when you're doing this. So this work ended up with something like this, and you're obviously not going to read all this. It's just to show you that this is where we go from the wall and Post-its. We go into documentation. In this case, just in a PowerPoint. We have the value stream. We have information. We have some questions. We have roles in this. So a lot of information on this one. And that actually leads us to this. And this was the first prototype we built. And we actually built that during the sprint. So here you would see that we have the value stream in the top. We have lots of information in the screen about system, technical, now it's in Danish, I'm sorry. Identity management, security, CAP, something change. And we have knowledge in the bottom. We have certificate, service introduction tasks. That's all the approval tasks you could have in the workflow up here in the value stream. So in this way, you have kind of control on this, the different stages or phases in introducing a new system. And what was pretty impressive was that we built this during the sprint. So I will show you how we did that shortly, but in a very short time, we actually built this as a mock-up or a prototype. And then after that, obviously, we had to do a lot of stuff with the fields and making things work and scripts in the background and stuff. But 1 month after the sprint, this was actually in production. That's pretty impressive, so to speak. Here we have an example from another customer. And this is just to tell, this is what the customer has made already before. We very good job they did that. But so here you have all the attributes on the services, and you have first take on a process. This led into also, again, we did the same stuff with the value stream on the wall, and we did information analysis, we did role analysis, we did trigger analysis. And then after that, we built all this into this service description. That's what the customer called it. And there you would see it's obvious that it's kind of the same stuff. It's quite not the same value stream, but it looks almost like the same. You do some validation, you do some progress, you do under approval, approve, finish, and so. And then you do have a lot of information on the system itself, classification, GDPR, business service, and so you have responsibilities, you have support, and you have some dates on when is the system out of operations again, and stuff like that. So we could see that, okay, this is almost kind of the same. So now we actually we don't have an application like that, but we have parts and bits that you can very easily and pretty fast make into an application. So, and in that case, at that customer, we also, they had requirements on also doing a front-end view on this. So this is actually the same information, the same data, just from a portal view. So you can fill out, and that could be easier for most people. And also there could be some licensing issues, stuff people, those of you guys working with ServiceNow would know that's an issue. But I mean, this could be, now it's ServiceNow, but it could be any other tool also. So yeah. So backend and frontend in this case. Then we have, then I'm just going to show you, and actually we have a full webinar on which is recorded, and you can see that after this if you would like to. But this is on the sprint methodology. That's difficult to say. Method, it's easier to say, that we have built. and we call it Business Automation Sprint, or just in short, just BAS. So we actually do it like this, and we have what we call intake, where we do some work on problem goal statements, stakeholder mapping, and stuff like that. Half a day, typically that would be with some management people, but also with some of the people you already know are going to participate in this sprint kind of work. Then we have like 2 days in the how, where we go into value proposition, value stream mapping, role descriptions. And then the second day we do some simulation, tool capability list, information flow. That's the stuff you saw, I just showed you on the pictures before. This is how we work with it. So we don't open the tool that much. Maybe we do open it on the second day, tool capability list. And also the participant is a guy like me talking a lot. And then we have a developer also involved. So while we're doing the workshop, the developer will sit in the sprint and also start to do the prototyping, start to build it actually. So then we have like a week or 2 weeks, doesn't really matter. We need a break, because then we go home and we build the prototype, the more finished. And the last 2 days in the what phase, you can see here, we focus on the prototype. We go into notifications, we go into KPIs and report stuff and like that. And we do, of course, we end up with test and adjust. And this is where we get more focused and say, okay, now we have learned this. Now we have this prototype. We know that this and this is not working. This is working. What should we shortlist on the minimal viable product for the first sprint, so to speak, so we can get it in production, and then we can develop it after that further. So yeah, and then of course we have, or not of course, we have the execute, and this is where we get aligned with the same people starting up this process. This is where we talk into high level estimate, development plan and stuff. And what you need to understand is that after this, then we went at the one I showed you, went from this part into production in 1 month, because we had the prototype pretty much finished already actually. So this was how we did it. Yep. Yep. Okay, let's go into the key takeaways. Very important. Now I haven't talked so much about the methods itself. As I said to you, there's a webinar on that, but of course it's very obvious that you have to get the right stakeholders and actors together and in play in a sprint setup. It's not like they have to be there all the time. Some of the management people, you won't get them to sit quiet for 2 or 4 days. So, but you involve them in the right time. You make a plan, say, okay, we need to have this guy here and this guy here, and the rest of the time it's all of the actors we're going to work with this afterwards. And the thing is that when you do it like that, it's obvious you don't waste a lot of time, because you don't get this where, oh, now he's not available today, we have to do it in 1 month, and then you come back 1 month later and no one can remember what has happened, and there's a new guy on board and stuff, and you have to start all over again. So compromising it in the sprint kind of way, as I showed you before, that's the important stuff.
Erik, I have a question.
Yeah.
So one of the audience asked, do we have to do the development with this business automation sprint approach?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. No, we don't have to. Of course, we could do it in a more traditional way, where we have some workshops, and we have time between and stuff. So we could do it in the other way also, of course. Also, maybe because we now have the experience, we actually have an application or a prototype now. So we could use that, of course, and then we could do it in another way. But we emphasize on it's good to do it in the sprint way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Then we have also use the principle of collaboration and visualization and think holistic. That's actually some guiding principles from ITIL we use there, and it's very good when you use this visualization and that's pretty difficult for the time being when we're not allowed to meet, but you could do it also online with Post-it, stick it in electronical. So, but that's very good to obviously to do it like this, to use the collaboration and visualization. When people, you get active, you use your brain, everybody gets to say something, and you have discussion and all the information and all of the misunderstandings and stuff, they disappear because you actually just you have the collaboration while you're looking at it. Then you have to use more time on the why and how before doing what to do. So that's one of our learnings also, that it pays off that you use more time on doing this visualization and collaboration on a board or on a wall with Post-its and sticking, and do more before you jump into the tool and just start to develop all kinds of stuff. So it's very important. And then one thing, don't mess up your tool, use out-of-the-box table. If we're into the, I didn't say anything about that, but in the background of all the slides you saw, what we're actually updating the correct tables in ServiceNow. So we're using these common service data model principles already in this work also. So we're not messing up stuff. So it should work. It's just a front end we're using for updating data. So that's it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, only this one left. Comments and questions. Is there any questions?
Well, actually, no. Please give us your questions if you have any now after you've listened to what Eric presented. But right now there isn't any more questions than the one that I already asked. So I guess you should go to the last slide with the contact information. Then I can just wrap up. So I just have a quick poll that I would ask you if you would be so kind to answer these questions. It's just some feedback. I hope you can all see there's 3 questions. One being about your expectations, one being about how relevant it was to you, and how much you enjoyed Eric as the presenter. And if you can just quickly click on that, that will be very appreciated. Thank you. I can see people are answering. That's very kind of you. We'll just wait 20 more seconds, just give people a chance to answer.
I cannot vote myself.
You cannot vote?
No.
Oh, that's, well, I guess that's only fair. If I had a vote, Eric, you would get a 5 in any questions. Yeah, I think that was the questions. I'll just press end this poll. And I'll just, okay. So just a quick sum up. As Eric also mentioned, there are other webinars that are recorded that's available to you guys. For example, the Business Automation Sprint webinar, and also you mentioned the Common Service Data Model 3.0. We have a webinar, and you can all watch those webinars on our YouTube channel. So please go there and watch any of the webinars we've had in 2020 on demand. And here you can see the contact information. So you can write, Eric has been so kind to give out his email address. And you can write him directly, or you can write at info@businessnow.dk or .se, depending on where you are in the world. And yeah, thank you so much for attending this webinar. As I said, you will receive a recording tomorrow on your email, and we will put this webinar on our YouTube channel as well. And I'll share the link on our LinkedIn page later this week. do you have anything you want to add up? I might also say happy holidays and all that stuff because it's the last webinar of 2020. But do you have anything, Eric, you would like to say?
No, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
everyone.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so you just won 4 minutes, guys. You can get an extra cup of coffee today. That's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, we hope to see you in 2021. We're excited to share more knowledge with you guys, and have an awesome day. Bye-bye.